wrong. There were no longer mass killings in Kaduna. So I started counting. And the gradient the diminution in terms of mass killings in Kaduna, in southern Kaduna in particular, is extraordinary. How is that so? It's not because our soldiers have kind of improved or we have more numbers or anything. How does a governor inflame a society so much that all you can do is count the killed and the missing and the decapitated? That is the question. And all of this thing, and so he wakes up today and he's comparing himself with Obieze Kwesele.
Defending yourself against a Fulani herdsman who invaded your farmland or indeed your territory will bag you a life sentence in prison in this one Nigeria. The one Nigeria that we have today is a safe haven for Fulani's herders, who of course have been ranked as the 4th highest terrorism group or terrorist group in the world. A man who had his farm invaded, right, was a Christian man. This guy, this Fulani herder, brought in hundreds of cows into his cassava farm. And when he saw that Fulani man, he challenged the Fulani man. Immediately, the Fulani man wielded a cutlass. He wanted to cut this guy. This guy, in his own bravery, defended himself. And he had to go into what we call this self-defense and unalive the Fulani man. Do you know what the Nigerian court did? The Nigerian court said when the guy collected the cutlass, what he should have done is take that cutlass and run away. Leave the Fulani guy, you shouldn't have killed him. So therefore, you have committed murder and you will be sentenced to a death sentence. Over the years, for the past few months, I've always said it, that the Nigerian government, that the Nigerian contraption was built on a foundation of the jihadist caliphate, which was emboldened, secured and fortified by the British Empire. The British, when they came to Nigeria, when they conquered the southwest, conquered the the southeast, when they got to the north, they gave the northerners that position of power, that you guys are going to be a very useful slave. So therefore, anything you need in Nigeria, you guys will always have our back. You can check the history. Historically, you can see that the English people have always worked with these northern Fulanis. Look at what happened in 1966 coup. The British understand that if Nigeria divides, this country will progress individually. The whole regions were experiencing what we call a golden era when we were regionalized. The Western region was progressing on an exponential rate. The Southeast also was also progressing on an exponential rate, right, under Mike Okpara. In fact, we saw a northern Nigeria who was having what we call textile revolution. But what happened? The British supported the coups, counter coups, supported Gowon, did everything possible to tell him to not go back to the regional government. In fact, the British have given the Nigerian company funds, aids, with the terms that do not divide the country. Don't try it. So this is why you see that the Fulanis have always been favored. In all ramifications, they are always favored. I mean, take a look at it again. I have my house. My door is locked. You forced yourself in. You came in with arms. In fact, you were about to kill me. And then I defended myself. I overpowered you, who was the assaulter. Well, instead of the court of the land, if at all, would charge me for a minimum charge, they decided to give me what? A maximum of it. If I have been unalived, what would have happened to me? It is only in Nigeria, once again, that the Nigerian army will tell you that a repented Fulani terrorist has the opportunity to become a president. A repentant Boko Haram bandit. This was captured all over the news media. A major general said that a repentant terrorist has the capacity to become the president of Nigeria, even ahead of an Igbo man. They said it. They said a bandit that was caught in the field of terror, unaliving people for his own religious extremism, that if he repents and drops his gun, that he now has the opportunity to become a political leader in the Nigerian contraption. And you're telling me that this nation has not been totally Fulanized. We in the Middlebelt down to the south must understand that the Nigerian government will not do anything to stop the Fulani terrorizing us. There is a campaign which was reactivated. Oh yes. Under Buhari since 2015 to this very moment, Tinubu cannot stop it. He doesn't have the capacity. He dares not stop it. Are we not aware that Ebonyi and Enugu have been under siege for the past 3 months? There has been incessant killings in Hamufu village in Enugu State, in Induani in Enugu, in Ebonyi as well, Afikpo, LGA, the northern Ebonyi that shares borders with Benue. All these areas today have been invaded by the Fulani herders, sacking the villagers, renaming those villages to Utmandamfodio communities, changing the names from Igbo names to Fulani names. These are the same pattern they did in Plateau, in Niger, in Nasarawa. Before you know it, they'll start installing emirs and serikis in those communities. You wonder why Tinubu has not been able to stop it. It is because the Nigerian security apparatus has been taken over by these people. If you take a look at the Nigerian army, the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian customs, they have the largest population there. If you take a look at the Nigerian judiciary system, you have so many of them there. The Fulani herders can never be arrested and spend a night in the Nigerian police cell. Now, let me tell you that. Go and confirm. Go and verify. In so many occasions, I have seen where all these Fulanis who ride bikes will commit all manners of offenses. Sometimes they will hit people on the road. All right? Sometimes they will be the one at fault. When they get to the police station, first, the DPO will be a northerner. Oftentimes. Secondly, that guy that was arrested will immediately call Seriki. The Seriki will call someone in Abuja. The person in Abuja will call the AIG or the IG or whatever, and before you know it, within 6 hours, that guy, is out. So you can see that in Nigeria is a Fulanized contraption. You see yourself as an Igbo man in Yoruba. You see yourself as a Yoruba man in Yoruba. You must understand that you are a second-class citizen. Yes. If you are not a Fulani man, you are a second-class citizen in this Nigeria that we have today. You go to Abuja and go and test your popularity. Maybe you want to test your superiority as an Igbo man go to Abuja as a Yoruba man, go to, even as we have Tinubu, who's a Yoruba man as president today. Go to some agencies and parastatals. You either have to learn Hausa, or you automatically give yourself one name that presents you as an Hausa Fulani man. For instance, I bear Samson. Immediately, I'll say, well, I be Sanusi. Yes. I will automatically change my name, Sanusi. I am Sanusi. And then I start wearing that their cap. If you don't dress, you don't put on danshiki, you're not putting on that aboki cap, there's no headway for you. Didn't you see how Obi became Malam all of a sudden? Didn't you see how Tunde Bakare, who is a pastor, a reverend, started wearing jalamiya and started wearing all the aboki attires? Didn't you see all the prominent Christian presidential candidates? Have you ever seen where a northern presidential candidate will start dressing like a southerner? Have you? Have you ever seen them put on the Ishiagu all through their campaigns? Have you? Have you seen the a northern presidential aspirant who said that, okay, throughout my campaign, I will put on more of Agbada? It is always the way around, other way around. Whereby you see a Peter Obi, even when he is in River State, he will be putting on Danshiki and the Aboki cap. When he goes to Plateau, Plateau is not a Fulani land. He will put on the Danshiki and the Fulani cap. Then maybe when he wants to now go to Anambra, he wear Ishiagu. When he steps out of Anambra, he wants to go to every other state. We have to see this, that the Fulanization agenda is about to be completed. And that is why when they commit all manners of atrocities, all manners of, all these shenanigans, the court will favor them. A Professor Mahmood ensured that they inserted Tinubu there. Okay? Professor Mahmood is a Fulani man. They ensure that Tinubu is doing their bidding. If anybody can capture Professor Mahmood today, torture him, put him in a closure, and ask him what happened with the IRF, you will be amazed the confessions that will be coming out from his mouth. I tell you. So, if Nigeria will progress, the Fulanis must be dealt with. If Nigeria will retrogress, the Fulanis will continue to be tolerated. Everything lies in our hands. Because these Fulani herders going on rampage is no longer a struggle. It is no longer a coincidence. It is no longer a fluke. Now, it is a thriving effort. It is a campaign against the what? Other tribes. It is a show of superiority. It is a show of waiting in our own do. It is a show of Nigeria has been subdued by these people. Thank you. Bye for now.
The shocking but perhaps not surprising news that Nasir Elrufai has left the APC and joined the SDP in his move to lead the opposition. Now, The Punch also picks up on this story, in addition to the Daily Sun, both of those papers looking at the story from the perspective of what the presidency and the APC have to say in response. Now, both accuse Elrufai of being driven by an inordinate ambition that is destined to fail, they say, in his defection to the Social Democratic Party. Now, the APC also say that Elrufai's plan to mobilize against Tinubu's re-election in 2027 would not produce any significant outcomes. Now, The Guardian, however, leads with a breakdown on how much internet data consumers are using. Their headline says consumers are groaning as data depletion, exploitation complicate the telco's tariff hike. And I think many people can relate to that. Now, the UK now, if we look at The Guardian of the UK, it's actually featured this explosion in the North Sea, which took place yesterday afternoon. And this explosion in the North Sea happened after an oil tanker and a cargo ship collided. In addition to that, there's also criticism of the benefit system in the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Ķïll says that essentially steep cuts are coming when it comes to disability payments because the number of jobless people on benefits is indefensible. And this is, of course, despite the fact that he's been criticized for making these types of cuts to the social welfare programs in the United Kingdom. Those are your papers.
And that's... Okay, and that's why we're, sounding this note of warning as regards Trump and this cuts, and you can see what's panning out in England. And that's why we should be careful. And anyway, for those that care to listen, the truth has always been, Trump is making those cuts from USAID and a couple of other, platforms, Medicaid and all of that, because he wants tax cuts for the rich. And the truth is, it has to be said, this tax cuts for the rich he wants is only going to benefit his friends and his major campaign donor like Elon Musk.
Yes. And
it's about their world, not any other world.
This is it.
So if we do not look at that critically, it's going to be a problem. You cannot say you want to cut off the middle class, cut off people's jobs, because you want a tax cut for the rich.
Yes. Yes.
And we have a story here that's talking about exploring critical partnerships, U.S. exploring critical partnership, with the DRC, as regards minerals and all of that. All of this is as the M23 saga is going on.
Yes.
It's a potpourri of problems. But I'm a little bit taken aback, by that. I mean, I'm not surprised because America started making incursions into these areas. You remember they talk about the Lobito corridor recently.
Yes, when Biden went to Angola.
And the train lines that wanted to be built. The reason that train line was supposed to be built is to be able to cut into parts of the DRC and be able to get minerals out. In the end, it's only about exploitation for these people. They want to come and take out of Africa's mineral resource. Nobody gives back. And the problem is our leaders in all of this, I'm going to the Elrufai story now, do not even introspect and think deeply. Somebody has moved from PDP to CPC to APC to SDP. There's a P in everything. Do you know what that P means? Power.
Oh.
Personality. Personal interest. It's about me alone. And that's why I was talking to a top politician yesterday. I was saying the way these people are going with this, their so-called coalition they're going to do, it might fail, and they will give President Tinubu an easy chance to return in 2027 if care is not taken. Because all of them want to be presidents. Nobody wants to step down for each other. No matter the party they move to, it's about their own personal ambition. So I asked them today, where is the role of Nigeria and the love for country in your hearts? All of them blame Tinubu for Emilokon. All of them too are doing our Lokon.
All right, so Congo, in this this dispute, let me put it that way, with Rwanda, have now gone to the big brother for support. And who is this big brother? The United States of America. Will they bite? Absolutely. I mean, Trump is going fishing for minerals in Ukraine. So when he's presented with such an opportunity, we've talked about the unfairness. There have been analysis around what's going on with M23, Rwanda backing it, and all of this around control for resources, control for minerals. And now Congo has taken the bulls by the horn. And there was a delegation that went to Washington to seek the support of America. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to investment in minerals or even a mining company in Congo, America doesn't have such a presence. So this is just the beginning of the conversation, but I think it's going to progress quite fast, especially because what they're asking for in return is for support, regional support. And when we talk about the unfairness that's happening in Congo, you can quite understand, and people might not, blink too much at this. But then we then talk about the implications, and that's what we keep saying, that I hope that when we go to negotiate with foreign powers, especially powers that are bigger than us, especially, for African countries, we go in with Africa first, Congo first, and their interests first, and not out of desperation where America takes advantage of them. And that's where the conversation is around, okay, they've gone to help.
They will take advantage of them.
They will. So, I just don't want to, they will.
They will take advantage
that's why I'm calling that. It seems good because then they'll get the protection they need, hopefully, to now be a proxy war between superpowers. So who has the most influence and who has the most interest or things to protect. But I just think that there has to be also a note of caution with this. It sounds like a great idea, or it seems like, they finally found, found a solution to this. But I'm also very careful around deals entered in, especially when you're in a vulnerable position with a superpower like the United States of America, not to put themselves even into a worse situation than where they currently are. But I think Rwanda will sit up now, and the bullying that's occurred in the last few days. Well, let me very quickly touch on Elrufai before we go on SDP. I'm quite interested. It's interesting because do you remember Adewale Adebayo, who was the presidential candidate of the SDP? We called that towards the elections, end of the election cycle. He withdrew and asked his supporters to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the time. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah. And so at that time we were thinking, okay, well, had he been working for the president all the while? And that's why there were conversations around this Elrufai thing. Let's dig deeper into it.
Where's it coming from?
The choice of his party is quite interesting because this is the same party that supported the president at a while, even though afterwards he's come out to criticize the policies of the president. But it's also something to think about. But he's saying that, and then they're saying that let's look at other principal APC members who might actually defect. Mr. Fayemi came out quickly to say, Dr. Ķïll Fayemi said, I'm not defecting, I'm an APC member. But now all eyes are on that big coalition. What is going to happen with that? For me, if we're talking about the northern votes, this move by Elrufai might dilute the northern votes for the opposition. That's in my own estimation, because that's the same thing that happened during the 2022 elections, whereby they had said that if a coalition between Peter Obi and Atiku had worked, perhaps they'd have had a better outcome at the elections, and so it was actually more in favor of the APC. So a number of things to look at, because if you're going away, Atiku too is also depending, or would also want to get the northern votes as well as votes around Nigeria. Elrufai, if he enters the ring, will also dilute those votes. So who comes out as winner?
Perhaps. All righty. Now, we have already touched on this in terms of our discussion, but just to set the scene and let you understand what we're talking about, rebels have continued to seize territory